Okay everyone, welcome to my first video on F1 2019. We received this game yesterday and we did stream it. We're struggling very much and decided to jump back on Interlagos in the Mercedes. I downloaded a setup from one of the top guys. I did alter it slightly because it was a little bit too loose, and even then now it is still too loose for this lap that we're doing now for my driving skill on this game at the present. I'm pretty sure I can get myself a lot further up, in terms of how fast I am on this game. But we did a reasonable lap at the moment, but this video is mainly about the F2 versus F1 cars. Now the F1 cars for me are really tricky to drive compared to the older games. Now the last F1 game that I properly put any sort of time into was F1 2013, which I thoroughly enjoyed. 12 and 13 and 10 were they were the games that I really enjoyed. 11 I wasn't as keen on because of a lot of bugs in the game. But we stopped playing pretty much on F1 2014, didn't play F1 2014, played a bit of 15, didn't really enjoy it as much, and decided to get this game and get back into it. You can see I'm getting there in terms of the physics and the change, the way the cars handle. I'm not terrible obviously, but we're nowhere near as fast as what I should be on this game. I know that it's going to take me a little bit of getting used to the throttle inputs. You've got to be so delicate on throttle in terms of feeding the power through with this car with so much torque low down. You've really got to be changing them gears really fast and just be careful on every corner. But it does have a very strange tendency just to snap oversteer getting on the power. It's quite a weird feeling. Now the F2 cars don't seem as bad. Now this is a one-shot qualifying. Red Bull Ring just did a Grand Prix, jumped in, did one-shot qualifying, and we're doing a 10-lap race in the F2 cars with 101% AI. Now the reason I'm doing 101 is because on 100% I think I did a lap and got pole fairly easily straight away, and I thought, well, we don't really want that. You can see I made a little mistake on this lap, on this one-shot qualifying, but that's the joy of one shot. You don't get to do another lap after it, and it's wherever you end up is where you start. So I'm expecting to get into the top 7 at least, though, because the pace is not bad. I was running a custom setup kind of. I just used the baseline fastest in a straight line, then altered it slightly because I haven't gone into depth on this game in terms of setup. I haven't played these games for so long. I just did some basic changes just to try and make it quite stable and a little bit more drivable. As you can see, we're not too far off though. I think it's the leaders qualifying time there in front. I like that little way it shows you the ghost in front of where they are on the track in their one shot. It's quite a nice little feature. As we come to the end of this lap now, you see going through the final corner, a little bit of oversteer on the exit, but you can actually find it a little bit easier to catch the oversteer in the F2 guys, which is probably understandable with the fact that they've got a lot less power and they haven't got the hybrid units in. These are the 2018 models, not the 19 models. So we're starting from P4, managed to get that in P4, and looking forward to having a fun race against, and having a little look at the AI as well while we're in this race and seeing how they behave, because on the old games they were not as the best obviously on PS3, so I'm interested to see how they behave on this. And you can see straight away very forgiving through turn 1. They backed out on one side and we managed to get through without any contact, which was good luck, because we actually had the full simulation damage model on in this race, so got away with that through turn 1. And going into the braking very late on the brakes there, locking them tyres up, and again that is inside right locking up. It seems to be the inside tyre I'm having a lot of difficulty with. I think I need to maybe go into the options and have a play around with the settings in terms of the brake linearity and the acceleration and stuff like that. Just try and get a better feel for the car, because I am locking up fairly easy in every single car I drive, but I'm really enjoying these F2 cars, I have to say. I think this is the best addition added to the F1 games for a long time now. I briefly played 15, 16 and 17 for maybe a few days and then didn't really do much with them, but these F2 cars I can thoroughly see myself playing more often, and probably maybe doing a whole season in these F2 cars. I probably will more likely do an F2 season than an F1 season at the moment, because I really enjoy the feel of these cars. The AI feels really well optimized as well. As you see there, starting lap 2, still in P4, trying to get into the slipstream. You see a massive moment on the exit there where I've gotten the power just a bit too early. These cars still have the torque that the F1 cars kind of have low down when you put that throttle down, especially second gear in the F2 cars. Really tricky to judge, get my power. You've got to be very progressive with the throttle. You can't just put your foot down, and that's something I've got to get used to. Obviously I've got used to Gran Turismo, how I put the throttle down on that, and I know where the limits are with that game now. A lot of people have trouble on that game, but when you're used to a game, you kind of understand where the grip is. So I've just got to get used to it on this. It will take me time, and hopefully I won't have too much of a difficulty transitioning from F1 and GT Sport, as it could be quite tricky, I think, because they're very different in the way the throttle inputs are on the games as we go through this really fast left thing. And another thing on this game that I think has massively improved is the replay cameras. They look so much better than what I remember. I mean, they're not as good as Gran Turismo, but they're getting very close, I have to say that. And GT Sport obviously is probably the best replays on any game, and this is close to it. It's definitely it can definitely hold its own against that type of game as we go over the line. Starting another lap in P4 and trying to hold on at the moment, because we've lost a little bit of ground to P3, and we've got P5 right behind us. The AI seemed fairly strong on 101% AI. Now 110% I think would be far too fast for me at the moment. I have seen someone say that the F2 cars AI is actually a lot harder to beat than the F1 cars, so on 110% the F1 cars are a little bit easier than the F2 cars. It could also be track dependent, depending on what track you are, because sometimes AI is optimized better at certain tracks. But for this track, 101 seems fairly nice to race for me at the moment with no assist on. You see I'm not using any traction control, no ABSs. Again, another lock up into that slow right hand corner and losing a bit of time to P3. So every time we're getting close, the DRS obviously taking a little bit more speed into the corner. I'm locking up them tyres and losing a bit of ground to that P3. As coming to the end of lap 3, you can see we've a little bit of a gap to P3, but we've got P4, P5 right behind it, but then there's a bit of a gap developing between the other AI drivers. So seems to be a bit of field spread developing after 3 laps. You've got P6 seems to be battling away, and they're losing a little bit of time to the group that I'm in at the moment against the AI in this race at the Red Bull Ring. As we go over the line to start lap 4, and again trying to make sure you get turn. It's so important to try and get this turn 1 on throttle as early as possible, not running so far wide that you get on the power on the curb, because it will just send the rear out like we did on the previous lap. But this time it's doing it quite nicely. You can see they're getting on the throttle nicely into the slipstream. Now we're gonna have a little look down the right hand side, but you see goes to look defensive, and that kind of puts me off making the move, and we just couldn't break that late anyway. And the P5 actually goes to make a move. You've seen the red arrow come in there to show me that he is making a move on that inside and very close. So I gave a bit of space, managed to get through the corner and hold on to this position, but we just couldn't really go for that move. He wasn't close enough to dive up the inside. Now obviously we could have just when racing the AI, you can probably just dive in there and push them out of the way, but I would have got damaged, and that's why I've got the full simulation damage on, because I want to race this race like you would in real life. I don't want to be pushing drivers out the way. We want to be racing, so if we make a mistake we get punished as we go through the left hand corner, trying to get the power as early as possible there to maintain the speed all the way into this really fast aggressive right hand corner up ahead. And we're just about staying away from the driver behind us and getting very close to P3. They seem to make a bit of an error actually on the entry into the corner, but rescued it quite nicely. We now go over the line to start another lap. So very short laps at the Red Bull Ring, over quite quick, but I do love this track. It's one of my favourite tracks. I do like it on GT Sport as well as Assetto Corsa and Project Cars. But one thing I will say about the F1 version, I'm not sure whether they laser scan their tracks or not. I'm not 100% sure, but turn 1 and the final corner seem a little bit tighter than on Assetto Corsa and GT Sport. Now I know them games do actually laser scan their tracks, as we actually get overtaken. We were going for a move on P3 and actually end up losing the position to P4. You can see they're dropping down into P5 now in this race against the AI. So a very nice overtake by the AI, and I have a massive moment trying to get that position back. Had to keep the steering angle straight, otherwise I would have wiped him out and lose quite a big chunk of time with that massive lockup. So again, more evidence that the AI on this game is really, they're really racy. They do enjoy racing, and I'm looking forward to getting improving on this game and being able to race at higher levels. At the moment we're on 101%, which is, it's not by any means slow, but I would like to be able to race, eventually the 110, 100 whatever. The maximum is 110. Maybe it might be a bit too fast on the F2 cars, I don't know, because I won't be able to put hours and hours into this game, because obviously Gran Turismo with the FIA stuff is my priority. But I'll be interested to see if we can get close to that 110% AI for a championship and compete with them, because they are really entertaining to race. They give respect, they attack when they go for a move when they can, and they give you racing space, which is really nice to see when racing against AI, because so many games the AI is really poor. For example, Gran Turismo's AI is not the best. We all know about that. There's no real point racing the AI on Gran Turismo. But on this game, I would say they're actually better than Assetto Corsa from what I've experienced so far. I would say the AI in this at the moment are probably some of the best AI I've come across from the races that I've done against them so far. They give respect, they race very realistically. It almost feels like you're racing another person in real life, because some of the defensive lines they take and the way they enter the corners really does feel like you're racing an actual person and not just some AI scripted AI. So that's the main thing, and that's one very positive, because if you can get that feeling from AI, then you can just jump on and have a race against them, because you can set them to whatever level you want. You can make them as fast as you want or as pretty much slow as you want. We're running obviously 101%, so they're reasonably competitive in this race. If we again start another lap, and we need to fight our way back in this to try and see if we can get back to P4 or even P3. I was really annoyed at myself for actually letting that position go against the AI, so trying to push aggressively out that turn one. Much better line there, but the problem we've got now is that P4 is now picking up the slipstream from P3, and we're going to just drop back whenever into this corner. You see, trying to get a nice solid line through. You'll see I'm struggling on power on this corner, but for this time we nearly do it a bit better. We lose a bit of traction, but much better than what we've done on previous laps as we now head back into this really tricky corner. Another corner I tend to lock up very often. Do we lock up this lap? Another big lock up on that right hand side, but we're getting very close to this battle for the podium, and real close racing with the AI, and thoroughly enjoyable, I have to say. This probably has to be the most fun I've had against an AI competition in any game for such a long time. I think the last time I had pretty decent race like this was probably on R Factor 2, I think, when I managed to finally suss out how to get the AI where I wanted to. But that game took a real amount of effort to get the AI to that level that they could be competitive and be racing fair. But this game, you just set it to 101%. The aggressiveness feels like it's spot on. They're not overly aggressive, they're not soft. They will go for moves, they'll give you space when you make a move as well. And they will also defend. You'll see them going defensive into the corners, which is really nice to see. They know when to do it, they know when not to do it. They're not just going to go out on that defensive line every single lap. So really enjoying these F2 cars. I haven't really been in the F1 cars over a race distance, a proper race distance, to actually be able to see what the AI is like on the F1 cars. So that's something we could look at maybe for another video. But so far I'm having more fun with the F2 cars than I am with the F1 cars. That is the overall opinion that I'm getting from this game so far. I'm enjoying racing these F2 cars more. They feel like they actually feel like they've got more weight on them. They feel like they're just a little bit more simulation. I don't know whether how they've gone about creating the handling for these cars. They would have had to create them from scratch, obviously, because they've never done the F2 cars before. But they definitely feel like they've got a little bit more of a simulation feel to them over the F1 cars. The F1 cars feel like they've still got that little bit of arcade edge to them, and but these cars feel much better. They feel a lot more, the way they turn into the corner feels a lot more predictable, and it feels more natural in my opinion. I'm really looking forward to getting more used to the F1 cars though, and seeing if I can start getting a grasp of the handling on that model and getting my speed up. But for now, I'm thoroughly happy with just racing the F2 cars, so we'll be definitely doing more videos on F2 as well as the F1 cars in the future, as we now get in that slipstream. I'm possibly going to go and try and make a move into this very tight corner, but you can see he's going to go defensive, and that pushes me. I can't go that far over to the right. I'm going to try and go around the outside, but then he just lifts off the throttle on the apex. Now, I'm not 100% sure whether that AI deliberately done that, but if he did, that was an amazing bit of driving by the AI, because it lifted off the throttle on the apex of the corner, stopped me getting on the power, and I just wasn't able to put the power down coming out of that corner. And then when I could put the power down, I was too aggressive, lost the traction, and couldn't go for the move into the other corner. So quite interesting that the AI seemed to lift off the throttle on that apex, that corner. And like I say, I don't know if I'm 100% sure whether that was just the way he took the corner, or whether it was actually scripted into the AI to do that when he knew I was on the apex going to try and make a move on, getting on the power into the next corner, because it worked out for him that stopped me making the overtake on that next straight. So really interesting that he did that as we now approach the final lap, and I really wanted to go for this move. You can tell getting really racy, getting onto the DRS, going down straight. Now it's really important to make a really solid turn one. I did not want to make a mistake, so braking nice and early, getting down into second gear, then up into third gear, on the throttle nice and early, and I absolutely got on the throttle perfectly then. DRS armed, getting into that slipstream. We're running quite low downforce, so we've got quite good top speed. You see, we're going to go to the right hand side. He's going to go defensive. You see there, sweeps over to the right hand side, and again, is he going to just brake on the apex? And again, little bit of braking, not as much, but he gets quite a solid exit. And I try and get on the power, and again, he's going to go to that defensive right hand side. Really nice to see him do that. You see how he's gone to the right hand side. He's going to defend that. I'm going to still throw it up the inside, but he brakes so late to defend me from stopping me going through the inside there, and he locks up. Some great driving by the AI driver, and again, that little lock up again just to stop myself from wiping that AI driver out. And now we've just got a couple of corners to see if we can make this move before this race over. I really wanted to make this move and get myself up into P4. It's where I started on the grid. I wanted to make sure I didn't go backwards, and we're going to get a massive slipstream now because we got a really good exit from that corner. I'm going to just throw it up the inside here. We're going to go for that move, brake a little bit later, and you can see we just about make it, and he actually backs out of it, sees that I'm there, and we make that move and get ourselves up into P4. So it's a great fun race against the AI, and I have to say 100% the best AI I've raced against in a computer game for a long time. So if you're looking to buy this game, I would say that, and you just want to race it for single player, I think this game will 100% give you a lot of enjoyment because the AI seem very well optimized, and it'll be interesting to see if the F1 cars behave in a similar fashion to these F2 cars. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this very quick video of the F2 cars, how they perform against the AI and how they are in terms of driving. I thoroughly enjoy them, probably more so than the F1 cars at the moment, so I'm going to be doing a lot of racing in these cars in the future. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed, and click that notification button. Thanks again for watching, everyone.